It's Friday, and so it's time to take out the trash. One of these weeks, we're gonna talk beforehand to find out who's going first, but not this week. Brett, would you like to give us your garbage person first?
Sure, I will give you my garbage person first. This is a great garbage person, and I think this is enough time in the event they didn't have a chance to set up that video before it was time to play. All right. So my garbage person is a dude from a show put out by the Daily Wire called Backstage. Now, what is Backstage? It is when a bunch of hosts from Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire sit in a fancy ass lounge with fancy lighting and a fancy camera, drinking fancy whiskey that they have to Greek out the label of, and smoking fancy cigars to tell you really what would make America a more equitable society. And one of the dudes kind of interrupted Ben Shapiro's rant about an equitable tax structure to make this point. Garbage.
When Joe Biden decides that your boss needs to be taxed out of existence in order so that he can determine where the dollars go, this jackass who's never created a single job in his entire life.
The people who don't pay their fair share in this country are the poor. We need to raise taxes on the poor. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. The poor in this country pay zero. The lower middle class in this country pay net zero. So we have a group of people who pay no taxes, a group of people who pay no net taxes, a group of people who pay all the net taxes. And his argument is that it's category 3 who don't pay their fair share. Fair share means your percentage of taxes. We've determined that there are some people who shouldn't pay any percent of taxes. The only fair taxing system is one in which everyone pays.
It's fair when you earn your views and they're not bought by D-bags who finance your entire operation.
Yeah.
This is just to point out what kind of garbage that dude is.
It's
Ben
garbage.
Shapiro thought it was so insane that he thought it was a joke. And so did whatever his name is on the other side, the guy who like gets hired by Ted Cruz to sit there and interview him on the Ted Cruz question and answer hour. I forget that dude's name, and thank God. But like, see right there, that reaction on his face was him being like, "Oh, this guy isn't joking." So now I have to pretend that I knew that the whole time. And
I think the reason he believed that is because that is a room where those guys actually go and have a really fun, cool time with really cool, awesome guys. It's a laugh a minute. And so they just assume, oh, we're having more fun jokes in this place where we have real pleasure with each other's company because we're not all awful and doing this for the money. So that's probably why.
They're sitting in club chairs, drinking.
They're smoking cigars. They don't want to smoke cigars. They have to smoke cigars. That looks like the worst common room ever, by the way.
It looks like the way
when we common room vibes, but
it looks like when we tried to reboot Common Room way back, like halfway way back in the day, with like the fancy
the chairs
camera
are like
moves, and we were like, "This is too douchey."
Yeah, a little. We had fun people though, at the very least. But anyway, yeah, no, it's a terrible point. It's a point that he can't even really try to justify. That's why he says, you know what the poor pay? The poor pay zero. And then he moves on really quickly. The poor pay zero what? Zero tax? No, that's not true. And you know that it's not true. What you mean is they pay zero federal income tax on, and the category you're talking about there is people who make less than $13,000 a year. Now, saying the point, the poor pay zero, sounds a little bit more justifiable than people who make $8,000 a year don't pay federal income taxes, but pay taxes on virtually everything else. And in fact, a significant portion of their total income still goes to tax, but that bothers me, so I think they should be taxed more. That point isn't quite as spicy, I guess.
Right. The stuff that poor people have to spend money on is effectively a much higher percentage of their overall income than a rich ass person. Cause like buying milk, if you don't have a lot of money and your paycheck that week, that your groceries eat up most of your check.
Yeah.
When you
and
make
you're paying taxes on the milk.
And that's what it's exactly what I mean. Your sales tax is a regressive tax for the reason I just said. But the income tax, and then also like all these times when they're saying America was great, the way we need to make it great again, pick a year and every tax across the board was like twice as high on the highest marginal tax bracket than it is now. So more than twice, 3 times as much.
Yeah. Well, I think there's 2 amazing things that just happened there. One is acknowledged by, let's see, we have Andy, just Andy in the YouTube chat that says, if Ben Shapiro isn't the biggest knob on the stage, you've achieved something noteworthy, which is definitely true. I think Ben Shapiro briefly realized, wait, is this how people feel about me? But anyway, and then the other is, what an amazing achievement that these incredibly mediocre men who have been shoved in the faces of millions of people with so much advertising money, and whether they succeed or not in terms of actually generating real viewership and fans doesn't matter, because they can fail over and over and billionaires will always bail them out, that have been given these lives by wealthy individuals to protect their money, have a show where they sit around looking like douches and saying the poor need to be taxed higher. And they might even be successful in getting some poor conservatives to think, hey, yeah, they're right. And then not realize that they're the ones who will be targeted by the regressive economic plans of those douches on that stage.
So nuts.
It's sad. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.